All right, Larry Krueger here from the Pig and a Pickle Krug Show with a little 49er camp preview, and we're going to preview the quarterbacks. That's right. Check out Pig and a Pickle. 2 locations, Emeryville and Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week in Marin County from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. or until they run out. And in Emeryville, they're inside the Emeryville Public Marketplace, and they are open Wednesday through Sunday in Emeryville. Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Get the brisket. Get the brisket chili. They are both amazing. All right. In this video, we're talking 49ers and looking ahead to training camp, and we're going to preview the quarterbacks in our series on camp preview brought to you by New York Style Italian Sausage. And at the end of this video, I'm going to tell you my favorite in my countdown of 10 to 1, my favorite New York Style Italian sausage product will be revealed in this video. But let's talk quarterbacks. 49ers have 4 quarterbacks that they're going to camp with. Last year when the season ended, it was like, man, they ran out of quarterbacks, and they were intent on making sure that didn't happen again. So they've got 4 guys who theoretically could start games for them this year. Let's talk about them. Brock Purdy's the starter, according to John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan, and yet he had elbow surgery, and he could be delayed to start his year. He had a great rookie year. I mean, he really did. The Iowa State Mr. Irrelevant, a 7th-round pick last year, was just absolutely phenomenal. Purdy stepped in for Jimmy Garoppolo and just didn't miss a beat. I mean, it's amazing. He went 7-0 as a starter in the games that he finished. He was second in the second rookie in the Super Bowl era to have at least 2 scoring passes in 6 straight games. He became the 3rd rookie in 52 years to win 2 playoff games. So, I mean, Brock Purdy had a year. He's expected to return and be ready before week 1, where the Niners play the Steelers at Heinz Field September 10th. The Niners kind of made sure they have depth in that room now, though, because Sam Darnold comes over in free agency. He joins Trey Lance. There's also Brandon Allen. The Niners invested 3 first-round picks in Lance, the 3rd overall pick in the 2021 draft. He's been injured thus far. Darnold is, according to the reports, is going to have a chance to beat him out for that number 2 job. Both these guys are going to be compensated very well. Darnold, I think, has the 12th highest cap figure on the team. Trey's is the 5th highest. Darnold was the 3rd overall pick himself in 2018, and he had a career passer rating of 78.2. That ranks last among 36 quarterbacks who have thrown at least 1,000 passes since 2018. But he did go 4-2 with Carolina last year. He posted a 92.6 rating in a season-ending stretch, even though I watched the film of the final game, and he was atrocious against the Saints in the Dome to finish the year. But the Niners signed him on day 1 of free agency and gave him $3.5 million guaranteed because they believe with their cast and Shanahan calling the plays that Darnold can be pretty good. So we know he's got weapons: McCaffrey, Kittle, Debo, Ayuk. Trent Williams is the left tackle. Juszczyk's a Pro Bowler. Ayuk and Debo could be ready to bust out, and all these things are going to help the quarterback position dramatically. It was the 5th highest ranked offense in the league last year, and McCaffrey has made a huge difference, right? Niners averaged 29 with him and almost 400 yards a game with him. They went 10-1 with McCaffrey. They went 3-3 before McCaffrey. So in a lot of ways, maybe McCaffrey is the big difference, but the 49ers have a lot of talent now at quarterback. Lance, I think is going to start to fulfill his potential. A lot of people are thinking that Trey Lance is a bust. I don't. I think Trey Lance is just a guy who was very raw, played very little football at North Dakota State, and they drafted him based on traits. And now they got to coach him up. And he's had the injury. He's had the redshirt year, but he's a mature kid. Football's important to him. He's going to get better. And I think he'll get better to the tune where he will be the number 2 quarterback to Brock Purdy. And I'd be pretty surprised if he wasn't. Now, as far as Sam Darnold, he's interesting. He's only 26. He's got 55 career starts, and he's been bad. 21-34 is his career record, I think, pretty much in those 55 starts. But he played with the Jets and he played with the Panthers, and he definitely's got size and a big arm. So we'll see. And then there's Brandon Allen. Um, he could, he played with the Rams, Broncos, and Bengals. He was a backup last year to Joe Burrow in Cincinnati. He'll compete for that third job. And if they don't give him the third job, they'll waive him at the end of the camp, and somebody else around the league will likely pick him off waivers and make him their third quarterback on their depth chart. I think it's very unlikely that Brandon Allen winds up on the practice squad when you look at the money and the way that shakes out. So I know there's a lot of Niner fans hoping for, oh, well, they'll just have Brock and Lance and Darnold and Allen on the practice squad. Yeah, I don't think that's the way it's going to go, because Brandon Allen can get more than $200,000 from some team. And I think he'll take it, $1 million somewhere else at the end of camp if he doesn't make the third string job. Ultimately, I think this is Purdy's job to lose. And if he's healthy, he's number one. I think what we're really seeing in this camp is it's going to be Sam Darnold against Trey Lance for that number 2 job. And whoever doesn't get that number 2 job, I'm not sure if they're going to be here or not. That's really the question I have. Um, do you pay $14 million for your QB2 and your QB3? The Niners can afford to do that because they're paying Brock Purdy $840,000. But do they want to? Do they want to pay $14 million to Darnold and Lance to be number 2 and number 3? Especially when you have Brandon Allen sitting there signed for $1 million, and he's a totally suitable number 3 quarterback. So that's going to be interesting. This whole quarterback thing is going to be very interesting all summer. Is Brock Purdy healthy? Does he play in the preseason? If he doesn't play in the preseason, does he make it to week 1? Are the 49ers, do the Niners put him out there in week 1 at Heinz Field if there's still some questions about his elbow? Do they put him on the PUP list and shelve him for a month? Do they put him on IR and shelve him for 6 weeks? And then if they did something like that, is Trey Lance your starter? Is Darnold your starter? Who exactly will start at the beginning of the year if it's not Brock Purdy? But overall, I'm going to give this group a solid B minus. Why? Because you do have 4 options of guys who have started games in the NFL. Brock Purdy, I think, is going to take it to the next level. If he's healthy, I think you're going to see him get nothing but better and more accurate, more knowledgeable in this offense, stronger, more sudden, smarter. I think Purdy, the idea that Purdy has fulfilled this potential and he can't get better is crazy. He's definitely going to get better, and he's going to know a lot more. In fact, I asked Purdy, 6 weeks ago now, roughly, I said, how would you compare where you're at this year to last year at the same time? And he was like, oh, night and day. Last year, I was just trying to remember the plays and the formations. This year, I'm concentrating on nuances and so on and so forth. But he hasn't had a lot of field time because of the elbow. So how does the lack of field time impact him? Or has he done mental reps? How advanced is he from last year? Or has he lost arm strength? There's a lot of questions surrounding Brock Purdy. There may be even more surrounding the other guys. Trey Lance was the 3rd pick in the draft in 2021 and has not been able to show what he's got because he hasn't been able to play or stay healthy. So I think Trey's, performance in Chicago last year, people acted like that was some horrible performance. It wasn't. And then other people who want to apologize for him act like you can't evaluate him because it was a monsoon, and it really wasn't that until like 8 minutes were left in the game. So overall, I think Trey's getting better, and I think he'll beat out Sam Darnold for that number 2 job. That would be my guess. Darnold may get traded. There was talk this week about Green Bay having interest behind Jordan Love. If Darnold somehow loses out to Trey Lance and the Niners decide to go with Brandon Allen as the 3rd string quarterback and not Darnold, I think they could flip him to Green Bay if they wanted to. So that will be interesting. But they're not going to keep these 4 quarterbacks because none of them are going to make it through waivers to the practice squad. So it's likely they're going to release one of these quarterbacks at the end of camp or trade them. It's probably If you had to bet, you'd probably bet on Brandon Allen being the guy released at the end of camp, that he's probably here just for insurance. But it's going to be interesting to see how Lance and Darnold and Allen play, and if Purdy plays at all. So a lot of intrigue. I'll give this a B- as a group because they've got 4 NFL caliber players there, but they don't have a definitive answer as who their number 1 guy is long term. And they don't know what Trey Lance is yet. And I'm not a huge Sam Darnold fan. And Brandon Allen doesn't really have a lot of success in the NFL to point to. So they are inside their Super Bowl window, and the quarterback position is the most important in the entire league, and they don't have a for sure answer. But I really like Brock Purdy, and I really think Trey Lance has got a bright future, and that's not a bad place to start right there. So I'll give him a B- overall, but there's a lot of undecided and a lot of unknowns, let's just say that, in the 49er quarterback room. I think it's a really good room, but at the same time, there's not for sure answers. So I'll give him a B-. All right, time for my favorite New York style Italian sausage product, and I am going with the Italian mild. Man, you can't go wrong with the Italian mild. If I'm making spaghetti sauce, I'm going Italian mild. If I'm having a big grill and a bunch of people are coming over and I want to complement the hot dogs and hamburgers with some other choice, I'm going Italian mild. If I want it in spaghetti sauce, Italian mild is great. When I do stuffed mushrooms, I'll take the Italian mild and I'll squeeze it out of the casing, or I'll go for the bulk, the Italian mild in bulk, and brown it that way. And I chop it up and put it in my stuffed mushrooms with onions and garlic and parsley and breadcrumbs and mascarpone cheese. It's a phenomenal recipe. You got to check it out. But yeah, my number 1 New York style Italian sausage favorite, the mild Italian sausage. There you go. All right. Thanks to New York Style Italian Sausage for being the sponsor of our training camp preview. And thanks to our title sponsor as well, Pig in a Pickle. And thanks to all you guys for supporting The Krueg Show on YouTube.